your fault, dude.
Steam's indie games have been popping off as of late, and I'm not usually one to dive into the lesser known side of the space itself, but recently I've been on an unending grind to find extremely underrated games that I believe deserve the spotlight. You might have read the title and instantly thought about the Callisto Protocol, but make no mistake, these two games are unrelated and dissimilar to one another. MOROS Protocol is a fast-paced arcade-style shooter where you take control of an armed surrogate named Alex. In a way, this is somewhat like the Travelers from Chronos. Alex is stuck within a space station full of deadly creatures running rampant and causing chaos. With a neat aesthetic such as this, the player takes control of Alex as you work with an AI program named Abby in order to eliminate the creatures and escape the station unharmed. Since Alex is nothing more than a personality, the story explains that every time you die, your conscience is transported into another empty husk, repeating the cycle all over again. The monsters that infest this rotten place can range from insect-like grubs, flying maggots, weird tentacle appendages, and tons of other creepy things that can bring a lot of trouble. It's up to Alex to navigate the broken ship and fight his way to the end, or die trying. What makes MOROS stand out from its competitors can be broken down in layers, and as usual, I don't mind yapping about a great game that deserves tons of praise. MOROS Protocol surprised me with how addictive, creative, fluent, and inspired it was. I'll go over as much as I can in this editorial in hopes that I can sell you on the idea being presented here. There isn't a normal campaign or story like you'd think for most games of this style. The player begins at the start of a branching series of objectives. This main map screen serves as the travel hub as you fight your way through the darkness. You can choose whichever blip you'd like to go to, with each one granting some kind of beneficial upgrade to the player, along with rare resources. The trick is, you can only choose one path, and then you're stuck following the branches that come after. Carefully reading and preparing yourself for the missions ahead will help give you a better feel for how the game wants you to play it. I'm gonna argue against one of the game's biggest criticisms right off rip. I saw a Steam review that claimed the stage design was too repetitive. I think it does sometimes all look the same, but if you get used to the control scheme that's set up here, I have no doubt you'll forget about the design of the levels themselves and learn to appreciate the gameplay, because it's pretty fun. I don't know, I kinda liked how most of the levels looked, demonstrating a nice balance of both claustrophobic and wide open spaces, fixed with alternating platforms to assist the player. It's very colorful too, which reminds me of Ridley Scott's Alien or the ending scene in Terminator 2. Except instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, we get Alex, who seems to be a decent character. There's no voice acting, and majority of the storyline is told through text. That's fine by me, but what confuses the shit out of me is the direction of the storytelling. At some point, you'll be confronted by this giant cybernetic dominatrix who holds a grudge against your main character. Her name is Jocast? I have no clue how to enunciate that properly. I also don't understand her design. Why does the developer insist upon themselves by showing off this character's sexual features? I thought I was playing a thrilling boomer shooter. She feels just a little out of place. In order to progress with the main story, you have to fight her along with other main boss enemies that seek to tear you apart. Following the branching objective trees, the player should expect to encounter lots of resistance from the infested monsters aboard the ship. There are tons of cool ways you can defeat them in this surprisingly vast indie game. In order to better protect yourself from the monsters within this desolate place, Alex has to utilize these special circuit upgrades known as augments. Much like class mods from Borderlands, augments are data chips that grant you some bonus perks to your equipment, aiding you in your fight. You can find weapon augments that help to better firing speed, damage, recoil control, and some containing very special attributes that I'd rather not name in fear of spoiling the surprise for the rest of you. Your suit can also equip some of these augments, which can sometimes increase your health size or double your syringe inventory, vice versa. I'm impressed with the amount of options available here, considering this was a game that I assume was created by a small studio. It only recently popped up in my radar. and I've been more than happy diving into it again and again. Though it's not the most narratively driven game and the plot is a bit weird at times, I still appreciate MOROS Protocol a lot and can easily define it as one of the greatest titles I've tried this year. It's addicting, but I'm going to go ahead and continue telling you why I feel this way about it. In the main game, you're always equipped with a cyber sword. I like the physical design of it, and it's very fast with a satisfying combo swing that kills many small enemies in succession. I wasn't expecting it, but there are other options for your melee tools that utilize different playstyles. Anything sharp like a sword, for example, is going to be fast but weak, and anything blunt and heavy like a club is going to break bones but cost more stamina with each swing. It's kind of a pick your poison deal. It won't take you too long to find a firearm if you're utilizing Moros' map screen to its full advantage. In the beginning, you're more than likely going to find a pea shooter, but it's better than having to confront these bastards face to face. If they get too close for comfort, you can either sprint backwards by holding shift, or right-clicking the mouse button to evade an attack. This is the best way of dodging projectiles, which almost every enemy uses against you. Keep in mind that evading costs stamina as well as jumping. Sprinting is infinite, but your stamina will not recharge if you're in the process of running. This can be tricky if you're facing multiple foes with a melee weapon, as they'll sometimes overwhelm you and cause you to walk slowly until you catch your breath. There are two types of projectile weapons available to the player: energy and ballistic. Energy weapons tend to have a higher damage output at the cost of slower firing speeds. Ballistic guns are the opposite, but provide excellent quality and value when you need them most. Whether it's a pistol, shotgun, or wrist-held lightning emitter, you get to devastate the beasts that infest your home station. You're able to upgrade the capacity of your weaponry, allowing you to hold more energy cells and physical bullets. There are so many variations of each gun that I don't think I'll be able to cover every single one of them, but I will mention the ones that I've personally used. The basic Defender pistol is fast firing and can easily handle the small grub enemies. However, if it's damage you want, you'll have to upgrade to a hand cannon. These energy revolvers were one of my favorite guns to use, because they pack a punch and handle themselves well. It doesn't matter if you get a critical hit or not. The hand cannon will prove that these monsters should have never stepped foot on this fucking ship. I also found a really cool energy SMG and a ballistic shotgun that destroyed the bugs with fashion. This, by far, had to be my favorite weapon combo. Whenever the enemies surrounded me in a flurry of chaos, I'd use that devilish SMG to flush them back, then switch to the shotgun and finish them off for good. I can't lie, it was so much fun when I got to utilize these two guns for so long. There are way more options available to the player. I mean, this is a Doom fanatic's dream come true, and if you're a big fan of exploration and searching for secrets, this game scratches that itch as well. There will sometimes be these giant mouths that dig into the ship. Most of them are just a flesh wall blocking your path, but some of them contain a hidden room full of goodies. I believe the contents of the room are randomized, but I can't confirm that. What I can confirm is this game takes some getting used to. It started off feeling a bit monotonous, but as time went on, I eventually began enjoying it thoroughly. The game seems to reward those bold enough to submerge themselves deeper into its dark, abysmal environment. Some levels, I spent a good 20 minutes lugging my ass around in search of both supplies and secrets. It's one of those games that works so well in its simplicity, and I only wish it were a bit more complex, with some updated enemy types and variants, an increase in their population, and perhaps a new series of missions. I'd say MOROS Protocol really does hit the nail on the head for me. You always begin with 2 red access cards, and these serve as extra rooms that store some much needed supplies to help you in your journey. Red cards can also be obtained via opening containers or killing stronger enemies. As you play, you can collect runes, which are the in-game currency that allows you to purchase on-the-go goodies. Riddled inside of these individual rooms are supply stations that temporarily aid you during combat. Visiting these providential mini-kiosks will grant the player a health boost, though they'll have to cough up some runes. There are also kiosks for ammunition, energy cells, and if you see a purple cluster of shit, go ahead and pop it to gain some orbs for upgrading Alex's abilities. Vendors are an optional stop if you'd like to re-roll some of your augments, and some vendors offer the chance to scrap augments for other resources. You really want to do whatever you can to stock up on runes because the game will require your persistence and money often. I almost forgot to mention, If you're out of ammo and don't feel like getting too close to your foes, you can easily utilize the red explosive barrels or the ingrown poison sacks against them. Kicking these will activate them and will deal damage to everything standing nearby. Just make sure you're not a part of that group. Of course, there are plenty of things that rub me the wrong way in this title, and I think it might be best if I go ahead and start with the biggest complaint, because it's pretty much a major component of the game. In the past, I've reviewed games that often send you way back every time you pass away and have to restart. Many of those games at the time felt extremely unforgiving, and if there's one thing I hate in video games, it's a shitty checkpoint system. You're not gonna believe what happens after you die in Moros. In all of my years of playing hard games, reviewing easy and difficult titles throughout the course of this channel, I'm not lying to you when I say I think I might have found a game with the most unforgivable punishment ever made. Bin Laden wouldn't have wished this on his worst enemies. In Moros, you can collect these health vials that are dropped from containers such as explosive barrels, loot boxes, crates, and sometimes enemies. As the gel stacks up, it will eventually convert into a syringe, allowing you to heal yourself using the C key. You can only stack up a small amount, so once you're out, you become a ticking time bomb of death. When your health reaches 0, you want to know what you have to go through? Take a wild guess. Do you think it'll boot us back to the main menu? Nah, it wouldn't be that harsh. I'm sure it'll just boot me to the start of the stage or something. Oh, I have to replay the whole game again. That's gotta be the fuckest bit of baloney I've ever seen in a video game. Can you believe this shit? Whenever you die, you have to replay the entire game, from start to finish. You lose all of your inventory, your perks, your augments, your tokens, your weapons, everything. Then you're placed all the way back in the storage section of the ship, forcing you to do it all over again. Holy moly. I didn't think you could get away with a punishment of this degree. It almost goes against the Geneva Convention. Alex is transported into another body and must start from scratch every time he dies. You're probably curious as to why I haven't exploded in a fit of rage and started ranting about how awful the game is because of this singular mechanic. Well, I'll be honest, it kind of fits here. So, just a forewarning, you don't want to run out of health.
Or else you will die.
After death, you can use the purple orbs you've collected to upgrade Alex's traits. You might not have the same equipment as before, but you can better prep yourself for the next attempt by unlocking perks, upgrading your health and ammunition capacity, and the possibilities seem endless, which is encouraging. These upgrades are permanent and can help give you a better head start when things seem tough. After playing for roughly an hour or two, I finally understood what the game's purpose was and realized that it was going to be one of the greatest gaming challenges for me this year. The point, simply put, is to purposefully discourage and beat the player down so that they can have an excuse to come back swinging a bit harder each time. And I kinda like that. MOROS Protocol isn't extremely difficult, but its bosses tend to be the biggest flaw I have with the overall gameplay. I rarely ever died to the main grunt enemies. The special variations weren't a problem either, like the weird purple beanstalk guys or the repulsive boil-covered engineers. They were relatively easy and often had avoidable attacks that you can predict with ease. It's the fucking bosses that always got me killed. Though they're unique and gave me a bit of anxiety when meeting them for the first time, I can't help but think about how slow Alex moves compared to everything else. The dodge ability is handy, but it drains stamina and doesn't push you far enough away to evade most boss attacks. It's all about timing, which I of course suck at. I was on the final boss, a disgusting, creepy umbilical monster that swings his little shithead brother around like a flail. He's extremely difficult to dodge, and you don't move fast enough to avoid it unless you have the perfect timing and distance. It's like trying to wrestle your drunken uncle. Fuck. Great. He killed me. And guess what? It's back to the fucking beginning. I suppose now would probably be the best time to mention the bigger complaints I have with MOROS Protocol, though you may scoff at a few of them. I wish the game didn't feel so infantilized. What do I mean by this? Well, in short, I feel like a kid made this game. The writing, at times, feels like it was either fresh off an 8th grader's book report or ChatGPT was hired for the role. I would have really liked to learn more about the facility and its origin. I would love to play missions that involve saving survivors and maybe rescuing fellow soldiers to fight alongside you. I don't know, just a few creative suggestions I could think of. Remember those mouth walls I mentioned earlier? There doesn't seem to be any way of avoiding damage to open them because upon being destroyed, the green wall will explode and cover you in a caustic acid, hurting you in the process. You can't shoot them open, so you're forced into using a melee weapon. I even tried to swing then dodge in quick succession, but I still got hurt. I know I commented on this before, but I'm still not a big fan of how slow the movement speed is. I feel like a horror game character who was airdropped into an action game by accident. Even if you right-click to dodge the various projectiles that enemies launch at you, you aren't dodging quick enough to get anywhere. It would have helped if you could move just a bit faster. I'm also not the biggest fan of the gameplay loop itself because this game feels way too easy. The bosses are tough and are very grounding in the sense that the stakes are much higher when confronting them, but the main enemies? They're like cake. Just fucking eat them piece by piece and you'll more than likely survive. Melee combat is really fun, but I don't like how quickly your stamina depletes. After just a few swings of the basic katana, you're gasping for air like a flopped over fish. As far to my knowledge, there were no means of choosing my difficulty, meaning the stamina is just designed to drain at a fast rate. Although I assume, like other abilities with Alex, you can upgrade this. I really like Moros, but I wish it were a bit cheaper. $24.99 seems like a bit much considering how one simple mistake is enough to reset all of your progress. There's very little room for you to mess up, and it's bound to happen on your first try. I'd recommend buying it when it's on sale. Aside from those complaints, MOROS Protocol was a pretty fun game that offered quite a bit of excitement for me. It had some really good essential themes that worked well with its dynamic gameplay, and I heavily enjoyed fighting my way through the infested rooms, though it might just be the hardest sci-fi game I've ever played. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Look out behind you.